One thing I love about older anime is just how raw that shit was, bro. Like, if you ever go back in time and watch like the old shit, late 80s, early 90s, etc., it's actually low-key impressive how few fucks these used to give about life. Now, I'm not going to say that anime wasn't profitable in the 80s. Like, the late 80s literally bought us the Dragon Ball Z anime, which is without a doubt one of the most profitable anime franchises of all time. But even though mainstream hits like Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Z were dropping in the 80s, a lot of anime at the time still kind of ended up existing as nothing more than these unhinged passion projects that most likely bled money and resources for whatever publishing company decided that they could use an extra 27 Japanese yen worth of profit for the year. Anime like Baoh the Visitor, this 1989 OVA produced by Studio Period, perfectly embody this here nigga damn attitude that certain anime from this era used to have. Baoh the Visitor is a 50-minute movie based off of a flopped manga with the same title. The manga ran in Weekly Shonen Jump for a grand total of 9 chapters in the 80s, and the mangaka that wrote Baoh actually went on to write this other little underground junk called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, I wish I could come on here and lie to y'all, bruh. I wish that I could actually, I do that all the time. Who am I kidding? I wish that I could tell y'all that Baoh is this underrated masterpiece that y'all just have to tap into ASAP. But look, bro, I'm not gonna lie, some shit needs to stay underground, bro. The story of Baoh the Visitor is built like a late assignment. 80% of the characters serve absolutely no purpose other than to just die, and of the 5 characters that do have an actual function in the story, only one of them, the main villain, has like goals and a motive and a personality, you know, like all that cool shit that characters are supposed to have that make them interesting. The anime follows the story of this little psychic girl named 𝙏𝙖𝙡 on her quest to... Yeah, actually, we don't really know what the f 𝙏𝙖𝙡 is there for. Like I said before, most of the characters in Baoh don't have actual like goals and a backstory, and so 𝙏𝙏𝙡, who is arguably the main character, doesn't really do besides raise more questions for the audience. Who is this little girl, and why does she have clairvoyant powers? Why does she start off the movie locked in a train filled with mad scientists and their up biological experiments? Why does she have this little Digimon that follows her around the whole movie? Why does she deadass predict the existence of Freddy Fazbear 25 years before he was ever conceptualized IRL? If I had to attribute one useful quality to 𝙏𝙏𝙡's character, I would say that throughout the duration of the movie, she does mainly function as like a damsel in distress / MacGuffin character for the hero of the movie. Then again, it is an 80s shonen anime, bro. Like, the fuck was you expecting, bruh? A useful and dynamic female lead? My nigga, we can't even barely get them shits today. The trauma that 𝙏𝙏𝙡 goes through so that the hero of the movie has an excuse to body niggas in excruciatingly visceral detail is absolutely insane, bro. Over the course of like 5 days in canon, we watch from the sidelines as this prepubescent girl gets bitch slapped by a grown man, held at automatic gunpoint by a grown man, kidnapped by a grown man, locked into a cell by a grown man who proceeds to deprive her of both food and water for 2 days. This shit is genuinely depraved, bro. They literally ragdoll this poor little girl across the map for the whole movie just so that our hero has an excuse to look kinda cool sometimes. Speaking of the hero look, bro, if you thought that 𝙏𝙏𝙡 lacked substance as a character, you were dead ass right. Her shit is cheeks. But if you thought that the character writing in this shit couldn't get cheeksier, yeah, alright, bro. Allow me to introduce you to the hero of this story, 𝙏𝙏𝙡 Hashizawa, aka Baoh. 𝙏𝙏𝙡 is a 17-year-old boy who... Yeah, that's it. That's his character. 𝙏𝙏𝙡 doesn't actively do shit during this entire movie. He's kind of just there, getting dragged along by the plot while trapped in this constant cycle of murdering villains and saving this little girl that he barely even knows. Where most characters would have a backstory, 𝙏𝙏𝙡 has an excuse. Once upon a time, there was a boy. This boy had parents. Now he doesn't. For some reason, the medical professionals who are in charge of 𝙏𝙏𝙡's life decide to hand his body over to this creepy old guy who says shit like this.
Young flesh is most preferable for the Baoh experiment.
Very trustworthy shit. You know, I'd trust this man with the life of helpless teenage boys. The mad scientist proceeds to infect 𝙏𝙏𝙡 with an alien parasite that gives him freaky, super berserker powers, and yeah. The rest of the movie centers around 𝙏𝙏𝙡 beating the all-living out of any nigga that dares step to him in any capacity. It's like Parasite the Maxim, but very ass. But look, bro, it's easy to hate on old shit, alright? It's easy to look back 40, 50, 60 years ago and laugh about how the products of their time would have never held up against the shiny new products of our time. And even though to an extent there can be some truth to that sentiment, I always try to at least attempt to make a conscious effort to see what the old heads might have been trying to cook when they made this dog shit back in the day. One thing I gotta give to Baoh the Visitor is the fact that the setting of this world is oddly appealing in a way. Over the course of a mere 50 minutes, we're introduced to a world that pretty seamlessly integrates sidekicks, monsters, cyborgs, assassins, Pokemon, aliens, dystopian leadership, Freddy Fazbear, mad scientists, and fucking touchscreen technology into one pretty cohesive feeling universe. And I'm not gonna lie, as a guy who gets really turned off when a world feels like it has too many moving parts that don't relate to one another, I am genuinely impressed by how well this movie managed to weave together all of these seemingly random aesthetics into a singular, believable setting for the characters that this story doesn't have. On top of that, the main mad scientist guy, like the main villain of this Dr. Kasumino, here we go. On top of that, the main mad scientist guy, like the main villain of this compared to the rest of the cast, he's actually a pretty dynamic character with like actual tangible goals and motivations and whatnot. If the movie did have a message, which it doesn't, but if the movie did have a message, it would probably be don't use the power of science for war. And like, I don't know, if you squint real hard, you can kind of see Dr. Kasuminome as like an analog for the IRL scientists who use their gift of knowledge to develop. Actually, nah, bro, I'm not about to give the writing of this that much credit. The one aspect that Baoh really excels in is its action sequences. As you can probably tell by now, there's really not all that much good shit about this movie, and so its action cuts, which are actually really creative and well animated, kind of stand out as like a beacon of quality in this cesspool of fucking baby monkey writing. After about 5 minutes of watching Baoh the Visitor, you kind of realize that you're not going to be getting anything of substance in the writing department, and so right as you go to cut this bullshit the fuck off, as you should by the way, the animators hit you with these beautifully vicious action sequences that reload your bullshit tolerance meter just enough to carry you through the next bout of ass writing that exists solely to connect two fight scenes. I think Studio Period must have accidentally assigned their good animators to handle the gore scenes in Baoh, because like, you ever seen a group project where like they got that one nerd ass nigga who goes try hard for no reason and his contribution to the project ends up looking out of place amongst the mid that was everyone else's part of the project? Yeah, that was me as a kid, bro. And that's also what Baoh's gore scenes look like when they're put up against literally everything else about this show. If I had to relate Baoh's action cuts back to something that the modern day audience could relate to, I would say Baoh's fight scenes are like the old head's Chainsaw Man. The cuts are quick, snappy, flashy, way over the top when it comes to gore. There's even this one scene where Baoh grows these blades out of his arms, kind of like Denji, before proceeding to slice through these two NPCs' domes in a very Chainsaw Man-esque manner. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Ikedo, can my nigga Denji get his flow back? I'd say my favorite character in all of the Baoh-verse is like this big Brolic ass Native American dude who happens to have like these OP ass Esper abilities. Look, I'm not even gonna lie to you right now, bro. Dog is probably the coolest Native American nigga that I've ever seen in anime. He is the only Native American that I've ever seen in it. This Native American dude is basically the only person in the entire movie that can really bang with Baoh/Ikedo, and so where most of the fights in this series end up looking more like one-sided clips that you would find on Lively, at least Baoh's fights with this dude end up having like some actual back and forth to them, like some actual squabble. I guess I also kind of like the mad scientist right-hand woman, this lady named Sophine. Keeping it a full stack right now, Sophine doesn't really actually do anything in the movie besides almost die, but like with that said, she's also very pretty and I like women, and so naturally I think it's only fair that, as you can see, I have clearly reached a point where I am now desperately grasping for positive things to say about this film. Truth be told, there really aren't that many good things to be said, and so I think it's in everyone's best interest that I work towards wrapping up this yap session. Even though I don't think that Baoh the Visitor is a good story by any stretch of the imagination, I honestly can't say that I wouldn't recommend this movie to a friend. Although this shit's ass, it's a small ass. The movie is only 50 minutes long, and so like, even if you watch it all the way through from beginning to end, you're really only wasting a small microcosm of your life that you probably would have wasted anyway. I mean, if you've gotten this far into a Teddy Slump video, bro, it is pretty clear to me that you don't really value your time. I think that we can learn a lot by going back in time and looking at the flops that had to flop to pave the road for the hits that we enjoy today. And when I look at Baoh from that perspective, I guess I gain a bit more appreciation for this interesting mess of an OVA. Besides, bro, as bad as Baoh the Visitor is, it's not like it's the worst thing that Studio Period has ever dropped.